But the thing is, wrapped up in this, is 33 years of making pilots better pilots. And
Except for
bringing
me.
people home safe.
Failures.
But with this comes the care and feeding that you put into every single one of those people so they can come home safe.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce you to you Captain Jim O'Keefe, United States Coast Guard, retired. Woo!
Talk among yourselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, 3-1. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce the two keynote speakers of today's ceremony, Megan and Katie O'Keefe.
So funny.
Don't embarrass me.
I just need to rip this up now. I don't know how you're wearing that. I'm sweating right now. Thank God I wore this tank top. Okay, so as everyone knows, this is a pretty big weekend for my family. We've been counting down the days to this event. I've been very excited for it. My dad, not so much. That event being my 21st birthday on Sunday. But I'll be 21 and older for the rest of my life. So thanks, Dad, for stealing the thunder this weekend. But in all seriousness, this is a very important day for my dad and our family. So I wanted to thank you all for being here today to celebrate with us and to cry with my dad. But I guess at the age of 21, I'm kind of allowed to start thinking my parents are cool, right? I guess it's acceptable to say it out loud. Well, in terms of my dad, we all know he thinks he's cool. But for me, although it took me a while to realize it, I had a few hints along the way that this guy had a potential to be kind of cool. As he often says, it's just a switch, I can't turn this off. You probably heard that one a couple times, but so, when we lived in Alaska, it was around the time I was 6 years old. And I started to get a good sense of what my dad's job was about, flying these big orange helicopters around and always wearing these weird green colored one-piece flight suits. And we lived in base housing in Sitka, and we were surrounded by coastie families, and it was awesome. We had block parties at night, we ate in the galley on base. We always hung out at this local bar in Sitka. I said I was 6, right? But my dad loved to bring Katie and I there, and if you recall, one night I brought my children's Bible to the bar for some light reading, while you could drink with your buddies, whatever. Sorry if I embarrassed you there, I'm sure we are even by now by embarrassment. But so then when we moved onto the Sun, Mobile, Alabama, my dad was still doing a whole lot of flying, and especially doing SAR cases and missions at night, and boy, he loved it. And I could tell in the mornings when he was tired, but he came back from a long night of flying, and I could tell that being a pilot, that is what he was meant to be. So, I did understand the whole nighttime gig. He had these cool missions at night, but what exactly were you doing during the day? Because every time you brought Katie and I to work, which was pretty often, I remember the three of us hanging out, joking around with your buddies, playing hangman on the dry erase boards, and you using us as an excuse to get into the simulator and fly around. But those were some of my favorite days in Mobile, getting to hang out with my dad at his awesome job. But I know that his most favorite days, besides those, were the days that he got to fly. And his love for his job was never more clear than in August of 2005 when Katrina hit. So I was supposed to have a soccer tournament that weekend in Panama City, and we were already there when the storm hit. We watched the storm the entire time on the news in our hotel room. And I remember my dad just itching to get back to Mobile and return to work. When we were finally able to return home, my dad immediately went off on duty because he knew he needed to go help people. He was gone almost every day for the following week, and even my mom left for some time to take care of survivors in New Orleans. My sister and I watched the news the entire time, watching footage on CNN of helicopters hovering over flooded houses, wondering, is that one Dad flying, or is that one Dad flying? But the best stories about rescues and the storm's aftermath didn't come from the TV. They came straight to us at home every night, right to our dinner table. My dad would spend the days flying and saving lives, and then he would come back with a group of hungry pilots for my mom to feed piles of pasta to, and my sister and I just got to sit there and listen to the most incredible stories of rescues. I'm sure many of you are familiar with these stories because many of you guys were there. But as scary as the news showed the storm and its aftermath, my dad said that it was one of the most memorable and gratifying times in his life. He was able to do the job that he loves with his best friends. He and his crew saved so many people, and I know my dad made a huge impact during that time, and I'm really proud. But he was recognized for that and for all the rescues that he did. And as many of you may know, and he hates to talk about it, but he was awarded with an incredible honor. A special invitation from Brian Regan to meet him backstage and come to the show. We worshiped that guy in our house. Brian Regan, not my dad. But Brian Regan, he was one of our family's favorite comedians in the whole world. Katie could recite literally almost every one of his shows. And all the Coastie families were there, and they got to stand up and be recognized by this comedian, and we got to go backstage and meet him. So right there, my dad's coolness level multiplied by 1,000. So as young as I was really starting to fully appreciate the importance of his job and what he's done for other people. So as I've grown older and I've really gotten to have a sense of how much his career has meant to him, saving lives and having the coolest friends, just the way that he talks about it, his love for his job, it's like his helicopter was his second favorite child. Sorry, Katie. Gotcha. But he loves what he did, and he loves who he did it with. I brag to my friends all the time about his job. Well, it doesn't really help that you constantly say you worked at 7-Eleven or at the Ballston Mall, so I've kind of had to cover you on those ones. But so from seeing and hearing all these amazing stories all these years, a daughter can't help but be curious of possibly following in his footsteps. Well, last summer I may have dropped one too many hints about me possibly wanting to fly, that almost days later he had me scheduled to fly a little fixed wing that one of his buddies owns, trusting me to take that thing up in the air. I don't know what you thought we were doing there, but you know what? It sounded fun and it excited me, so I did it. And I did have a lot of fun, as scary as it was, and I'm sorry if you had to change your pants a couple times in the back seat there, but I think the thing is that my dad just set that coolness bar way too high, and I don't think I could reach it myself as a pilot. I didn't talk cool, and I sure as hell didn't fly cool. Sorry if I just ruined the punchline to one of your best stories. Are you going to say that in your speech? I thought we went over this. Oh, well, gotcha. So maybe the whole military thing might not be for me, but that hasn't stopped him from trying to set me up with a military guy. Well, last summer, we went to Mr. McGuire's retirement in Pensacola, obviously on the naval base there, lots of eligible bachelors, pretty easy on the eyes. I was like, fine, I'll go. I mean, I really wanted to go, I really wanted to go. It's like, Mr. McGuire, yeah! But for any of you who have ever heard of the app Tinder, it's basically the last app that you want your daughter on. And of course, it was the first thing I downloaded when we got there, to the Navy base. Just to give you an idea of what it was, it's an app on your phone and it sets a radius around you and detects single guys in the area your age, and their pictures will pop up and you can swipe right if you want to chat with them and they're cute, or you can swipe left and you're like, not interested. So most dads would be like, hell no, get off of that. But my dad, on the other hand, knowing I was going through all these flight students, actually was helping me filter out some of these. So, when we came across a very attractive Navy rescue swimmer student, my dad was like, oh, pick him, and swipe right. I jokingly said, okay, Dad, do you want to talk with him? And I'm pretty sure he thought about it, but he goes, no, but I know exactly what you should say first. And I was like, okay, the rate I'm going at, still single, I might as well take some dating advice from my dad. I said, what is it? He goes, you should ask if he's going to be a Navy rescue swimmer or a real rescue swimmer. Good one. I'm sure, I mean, he was pretty proud of that clever response, might I add, but let's just say I'm no longer talking with that guy. Thank you. But besides teaching me how to flirt with rescue swimmers, he's also taught me a lot more important life lessons. He's taught me a lot about leadership and how being a good leader means putting other people before yourself. I've been on soccer teams my whole life, and seeing him with his military buddies, that's his team. And he would do anything for them. You guys know my dad to be incredibly selfless, and I've seen it in the way that he takes care of our family and the way he goes out of his way to help others. It blows my mind how giving this guy is. And as selfless as he is, he's also extremely self-deprecating, as you guys have been saying. But that's also such a valuable lesson for me to learn, just being able to get a good laugh out of yourself and not take life too seriously. So I've been saying this a lot in my speech, but my dad likes to call all of his friends his buddies. This used to drive me crazy. It sounded like he was talking about 12-year-olds, but... Did you know the next line of my speech, Anchor? Because it turns out my dad has a lot of buddies. Some we don't know there. But if they weren't called his buddy, they were called my uncle. I got Uncle Glenn, Uncle Rich, Uncle Joe, Uncle Gary. I got like 30 uncles. I didn't know Granny and Grandpapa were that busy. Shout out. But in all seriousness, you guys are his brothers and his sisters, and I see every one of you as family to me. The military has given me the most amazing extended family I could ever ask for. And with family, as I've learned throughout the years, you get to kind of joke around with and, well, make fun of each other a bit. My dad actually told me, well, he more showed me, I could see it myself, that the people that he's most sarcastic with or he's joking around with a lot are the people he knows who he can take it because they're his best friends and the people that he loves. So basically, I guess it's like a compliment if he gives you a hard time. And so if he treats you like, sorry, Granny, Grandpapa, and Grandpa, if he treats you like an asshole, well, there's no other better way to put it, but now you know he likes you. And well, if he's super nice to you and gives you real compliments, then I don't know what to tell you, you probably shouldn't be here right now. But when I go through tough times in soccer and complain to my dad, he's always told me that the toughest times he's ever gone through, the scariest and most life-threatening moments in his career, the guys that he was with during those times, you guys, you all became brothers. He said you grew stronger together because of all that tough stuff that you went through. So as cool as my dad is and as cool as all the stuff that he's done, there's no way he could be as cool as he is without all of you. So I know he wants to thank you probably for the next 45 minutes, but I have to thank you all as well. So thank you guys for being the best aunts, uncles, and buddies that my sister and I could ever have. And Dad, we love you so much. And is my time up? Is it at 10 minutes? I guess this part doesn't really matter, but we love you and we're proud of you. Okay, with all that family stuff, I'm actually at the end. With all that family stuff being said and making fun of each other, time to send it to my dad's third favorite kid, Katie.
Don't worry, it's not going to be that long. All right, so good morning, and thank you all for coming. Most of you know my dad pretty well, either from his wild days in high school, from Jacksonville University, also known as the Harvard of the South, the Navy,
All my lines.
the Navy, or the Coast Guard. You know him as the funny guy who can be a little strange, but is an above-average helicopter pilot. Above average, good. Well, Megan and I know him a bit differently. To me, he is the person I see cheering me on at all my swim meets, telling me I did great, then telling over 100 people on the Christmas card that year that I must have just had thicker water in my lane. Oh, I'm not done. And ready. And all the other girls have either gotten out of the pool, gotten a cup of coffee, or enrolled in college by the time I was done swimming. So, thank you so much. He also loves to embarrass me. My school has a career fair every year. When I heard he agreed to host a table, I was actually excited. He could talk about flying and stuff with the Coast Guard. So the day comes around and I see a big crowd around his table, and of course I was shocked. I mean, I know my dad's cool, but he's not that cool. So I walk closer and I hear laughing, and now I'm getting worried. I finally get closer to the crowd and I see him holding this picture. It is the picture he used to put on his kneeboard every time he went flying. Some of you are familiar with the picture I'm talking about, and some of you were even there when it was taken. So this is the picture from when I was 3 years old, and I jammed my middle finger at a game at Chuck E. Cheese. I know you guys can see where I'm going with this. All right. So my dad happened to have a party that night. He told me to show off my boo-boo to all of his friends. So, being 3 years old, I walked around and I flipped off a bunch of Coast Guard hats. I'm really sorry if I did, if you were there. I didn't mean it. And this is when my dad decided to show all of my classmates. So instead of actually talking about the Coast Guard, he just showed a picture of me flipping off the camera. So, thank you, Dad. You're a hit that day. But I'm actually so lucky to have a dad like you, especially when it comes to learning how to drive. This was about 2 years ago in the parking lot outside of my neighborhood. My dad was attempting to explain the different functions of a car before we started, such as auto rotation and the cyclic. He kept telling me to pull in the collective. Now, of course, I have no idea what those words mean, but I now like to think I know how to drive a car and fly a helicopter. My dad always said if you can ride a bike, you can fly a helicopter, so it must not be too hard. To end the day, he made me take a picture of him lying down under my car with his feet sticking out so it looks like I ran him over. This picture is featured in the 2014 Christmas card if you ever want to see it again. So speaking of the Christmas cards, as many of you know, they're basically essays my dad writes where he likes to brag about Megan, Mom, and I while making fun of us. You may not realize it, but he doesn't let us read them before he sends them out. For a good reason. But guess what, Dad? We found a few of them. Okay, we actually found every one since 1990. During the months of January and February, or whenever we visit someone, we hear, "Oh, I love your dad's Christmas cards, they're so funny." My mom calls herself the Christmas card widow, as my dad disappears for long periods of time to write these long, personalized essays. He has been spotted during this time, hiding in the garage, in the car, and yep, in the bathroom, just so you all know. He has written these since at least 1990. Some of the early pre-mom cards are a little scary, but trust me, I learned a lot. There are a lot of stories about fishing trips, but for someone that goes on so many fishing trips, I've never seen a rod, or a reel, or even a real fish. So next year I'm gonna miss my mom and my dog so much. And yes, you heard that right. I don't really need to miss my dad, because as I've seen with his obsession with Megan's soccer schedule, going to all of her practices, like hiding in the trees watching, he'll drive down to Mary Washington just to watch my swim practices. And I'm sure he'll tell me I did great. As creepy as that is, I actually look forward to it. I don't know why I have that in here. I have learned so many lessons through his example, and he has taught me so much that I will cherish forever. The 5 most important are, number 1, surround yourself with people who won't be offended by your jokes. Because you are all here, he hasn't offended you too much. Number 2, always put others before yourself. He is the most selfless man most of you have ever met. As many of you know, I was diagnosed with a rare disease in the 5th grade. We all had to make sacrifices. My sister had the difficult task of defending me when kids would make fun of me after the side effects of my medicine kicked in. Because of my medicine, I was a hairy, overweight 5th grader who ate everything in sight. and this is not an acceptable look for a 5th grader, so thanks, Meg. My mom and dad gave up a lot of their time to take me to the best doctors they could find. Until recently, I thought that was basically the extent of my dad's sacrifice. But little did I know, he gave up other jobs that he would be much happier in so that I could be closer to my doctors while I was sick. He has shown me that family is incredibly important. These last few months have been tough on my family as my grandpa has been sick. Although my dad had a lot to prepare for his retirement, he has been going to see him almost every day. Several weeks ago, I asked him how he's doing with the whole thing, and he told me that taking care of my grandpa has been an honor, not a burden, and that he is blessed to have been able to spend the time with my grandpa over the last few months. He always puts others before himself without blinking an eye. Number 3, he told me that life is more fun when you can laugh at yourself. If you haven't noticed yet, he loves to make fun of himself and make others laugh. Number 4, whatever you do in life, make sure it's for the good of others. I have been blessed with parents who have dedicated their careers to saving lives, and I could not have asked for 2 better role models. My mom's career as a doctor is inspiring, and I could talk about that too, but today is about my dad. His example of selflessness and generosity he has shown through his career has inspired me, and I'm sure he has inspired all of you. Although I'm not considering the military for myself, I hope I'm able to have a career in helping others like my dad has done. But most importantly, he has taught me to be grateful and thankful for all the opportunities that have been given to us. I'm sure this will be said over and over again, but my family cannot thank everyone enough for all you have done for us. No matter how big or small, it has definitely meant something to our dad, so it means something to us. I hope that what you've got from this is my dad is the coolest person ever. The Coast Guard is losing an amazing pilot, and I'm sure he's pretty good at whatever he's been doing for the last few years, so there's no one really knows what that is. Do you know? My dad has always said, once a pilot, always a pilot. So if you think you're getting rid of him, you're wrong. My dad is very good at keeping in touch with people, so you're all stuck with him. But in all honesty, there are much worse people to have around, and I'm sure he'll buy you a beer whenever you want. Thank you all for coming.
How are you going to follow that? That was awesome. Katie, Megan, awesome job. And thanks for coming up and doing that. I know it means a lot to your dad. Last, and certainly least, I think I got it right this time. Presenting his teleprompter-free closing remarks, I'd like to once again invite Captain Jim O'Keefe, retired, to the podium. What a shit show. Complete and utter train wreck.
Joe, thank you. Girls, we're talking later. Yeah, that really sucked. I appreciate it. When I was thinking about this speech, and yeah, I have been thinking about it for a while, I wanted to make it unique, something different to the Coast Guard, I know. And one thing I thought of was maybe just walking off stage right now. You're really ruining the next punchline. So I'm just gonna skip right over that thing. But I really don't have any good ideas how to make it unique, how to do something that you've never seen before at a Coast Guard retirement. Oh, thanks, Brian. Yeah, so I'm thinking. has changed. Matter of fact, you probably do need it. I'd like to thank Admiral Schwartz and Admiral Sokolsik for being here. Admiral Schwartz is a dear friend, and she's really an amazing woman. She's obviously a military officer. She's a physician, flight surgeon. She's an engineer. She's also a lawyer. She's basically the Village People wrapped into one person. Now, Joe obviously alluded to Admiral Sokolsik and I flying together many years ago, and it was an RI-10, Joe, Admiral, excuse me. It was an RI-10, not some whatever flight you were talking about. But I know Admiral Sokolsik is going to say the exact same thing today when he leaves that he said after that flight, that was an absolute complete waste of my time. You know, Todd, that was in 1989. 1989, and 27 years ago. Man, are you old. Ancient. Anyhow, I just want to mention one thing. Yeah, my good friend Angie Gabley's here, and she told me the other day that this is going to be the last time that you get to have a function in your honor that you get to attend, at least alive. So that was really nice, and I appreciate that. It really pumped me up for this one. But I really appreciate you guys being here. I think you're nuts. I was about 50-50 on whether or not I was going to show up. Would have been a great April Fool's joke. I did love that day. But I know why you guys are here. I say this before a lot of my speeches, but it's true. This is like NASCAR. You guys aren't here to watch the race. You're here to see the crash. Right? And I know that. And you're seeing, it was mentioned too, Matt, I think, brought up a few of my faux pas that I'm well known for. It's kind of funny, in a profession that I take with great pride, is situational awareness is always something that we stress. And once I get out of the cockpit, I have this strange ability to lose it immediately. And they're just not following the rules. And there's my first boss up here was actually Steve Torpy. I know Torps is in, and I don't think he was around for this, because you would have fixed this. But Captain Mike Moore was our boss, and I got a call that said there was a Falcon, this is from the aeronautical engineers at headquarters, there was a Falcon broken in Puerto Rico, and we're sending parts, and we got guys going, and if we're going to fix it, we're going to need an ops release from you guys. I'm like, oh yeah, I got it, boom, boom, boom. And I'm working with these guys, calling back and forth, and I finally I get it all together, call Captain Moore, and I go, sir, it's ready to go for the ops release. And Captain Moore is a guy that looks like Bill Clinton, he talks like Bill Clinton, and he hates Bill Clinton. And so I'm going to do an imitation of Captain Moore, but it's really going to sound like Bill Clinton imitating Captain Moore imitating Bill Clinton. So it's not really that good. But anyway, he goes, okay, Jim. All right. Yeah, you go ahead and grant that. Thanks. I'm like, great, sir. Boom. Got it. Send the message out. It's all good. The next morning, I'm on the airport and traveling, and I get a phone call from Captain Moore, and he goes, Jim, got a call from Air Station Miami CO thanking us for the ops release. Well, that's great, sir, that's great. He never asked for one. You need to call the operations officer. And I'm like, oh, sir, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He goes, no, Jim, it's all right. It's all right. It's all about learning. It's all about learning. You're learning to call the operations officer. I'm learning not to trust you. That's an exact quote. I wrote that down. So anyhow, yeah, I basically threw this speech together, a lot of it last night. So if it sounds like a guy that's had 12 beers and 3 scotches, it's probably because it is, and that's who wrote it. But I do know I'm one lucky son of a bitch. I am. And you don't get to the lofty position, and by the way, I'm the FAA liaison right now. That's my boss. That's my boat. But anyhow, there's a ton of people that I need to thank. The list is long and distinguished, and don't worry, Pat Gorman, I'm not going to finish that joke. But it's going to be like a big thank you note. So relax, sit back, smoke them if you got them. We're going to be here for a little while. I know this has already been long, but I don't care. I'm going to miss some folks, and only in Grubby's case is it intentional. But I'm thinking about going in no particular order, either by height or chronologically. So let's start chronologically with the first people I met. And by the way, if you guys have the bet going on when I'm going to cry, this is going to be it. It's going to be the next couple minutes. I was blessed with 2 incredible parents, Barb and Jerry O'Keefe. And again, this party is going to suck. By the way, you're not when you get parents, it's a crapshoot. You don't have any choice. I mean, it's just, who knows? But my siblings and I, we won the lottery. We won the absolute lottery. These folks, they didn't lecture too much. That was usually my brother Kevin or even Kathy's job more than anybody. But they taught us by example. Treat people with kindness, with respect, serve, help others, help those less fortunate, vote. They were just outstanding role models. And yep, here it goes. You have that? My dad has been, as my kids alluded to, my dad's been facing some health issues recently. It's been tough on both of them. But here's what's really amazing. This guy's going through a really tough time. And I have spent some time with him. It has been a privilege. But he always greets everyone with a smile. He's always kind. He's always says thank you. I mean, it's amazing. He's 88 years old and he continues to teach me how to be a good man. And it's obvious how good a job we did by this one fact, that other than my sister Kathy, none of us have spent any significant time in jail. And if Bill Bullis is in the audience, thanks, I stole that line from you. My mother, very straightforward woman. When each of us graduated from high school, we all got the same gift, which was a set of luggage. And basically, she said this, and this is a quote, you can either go to college, you can enlist, or you can go to plumber school. And I never understood the plumber school part, because she knows I didn't know the ass end from the business end of a wrench. But basic thing was, you can do any of those, you just can't stay here. And it seemed to work. So, for those siblings I mentioned, growing up with these three other folks was truly a pain in the ass. It really was. I mean, every one of them. Yeah, couldn't stand it. Let's start with my older brother, Kevin. A retired Marine officer, 26 years infantry. And from what I understand, when he got out, he didn't get forced out, like some people. He made a family decision to get out. And from what I've heard from many Marines, that if he hadn't, there was a really good chance that he would have been selected for flag. And done far greater things. He did anyhow. He became an SES in the State Department and is a pretty accomplished, incredible guy. So we both have the same excuse as to why we didn't make flag. Except in his case, it's obviously true. So, but how do you follow that? Well, my sister had to follow that, and she did it with aplomb. She was one of the first female naval aviators in 1980 when this was not a thing. It's a demanding thing anyhow, as a lot of folks in the audience know, but she did it when it was truly tough and very impressive. So thank you, Kathy, for being here. She's now our first grandparent of the group. She's my significantly older sister. And then there's my brother, Matt, Doormat, we like to call him. Yeah, he was a naval aviator, now he's a lawyer. Shut the hell up, it's my speech. He's still in the Navy Reserves. He just spent the last year in Djibouti, Africa, as the CEO of Camp Lemonnier. And Djibouti is a really fun word to say. Say it, Djibouti. It's really fun. But it's really not a fun place to be, okay? And then, just to be such an asshole, he recently was selected for flag officer in the reserves. So, just imagine a family meeting with all of us sitting there. You know, there's no chiefs, there's a bunch of chiefs, no Indians, except for me in the corner chewing crayons and licking windows. But other than that, you get the rest of these idiots. Well, thank you guys for being here. Carrie and B-Ridge and Diane, thank you guys. It means a lot. I appreciate it. I was blessed with marrying into a fantastic family. I'd like to recognize my father-in-law, Dick Lossa, and his wife, June, who made a huge effort to come here. I know it was. Dick and Jeannie's mom, Rosalie, raised three incredible women. Successful, intelligent, and let's just say driven. We'll use that word. But Kathy and Ann, thank you for being here. It means a lot to me. Dick is a 25-year veteran of the FBI, which is in and of itself very impressive. But he's also, as is my dad, a member of the Greatest Generation. He served as a corpsman in the Navy, And he took the corpsman job. He has a medical interest, but he also thought, geez, corpsman, that's nice. I can be on a hospital ship, a nice cushy hospital ship, cots, whatever. Well, the ship they assigned him to had another guy on there already named Glossa, and his brother. And that because of the Sullivan brothers, now they couldn't assign brothers to the same ship. So what do? They go, we have no place to put him. Oh, let's give him to the Marines. So he's a Navy corpsman assigned to the Fleet Marine Force, which was probably one of the most dangerous jobs in the world at the time. So where do we send him? Let's send him to Okinawa for the entire battle. He served there. This is impressive. My dad was an enlisted Marine aviator. You can tell by the tough handshake and the cut of his jaw. But he flew in the back of the F-7F Tigercat. Then after that, he was a GCA controller for a couple of years, and then went to college at ROTC and was commissioned as a Marine second lieutenant. So what does he do? He volunteers to go in the infantry, get sent to Korea for a year in combat. Again, one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet at the time. He went on to serve in Vietnam, and his civilian career is littered with all sorts of hazardous jobs and heroic jobs. And so please join me in a round of applause for these two true. Afterwards, talk with them. You're going to be better for it. I always am, every time I do. So, okay, I want to keep this moving. And keeping with the chronological theme here, I've got 3 friends from high school that were good enough to join us. Frankie, Anton, and Bill. Now, in reality, they were my only 3 friends in high school, which is kind of sad in and of itself, but I just wanted to thank them for always backing me, like the time Frank convinced his dad to beat the living crap out of me in his driveway. That was really fun. He was a really tiny man. He was a doctor, caring for others, and he beat the crap out of me. Then there was a time that Bill sent a postcard to me when I first got to flight school, and the postcard said on it, "Hey Jim, I hope you're enjoying flight school. When's your next load of cocaine going out?" There was a lieutenant commander who thought that was really interesting. And then, of course, there's my buddy Anton, who a couple of nights before my wedding got us all kicked out of a bar. And as they're carrying him out of the bar, he turns to the 2 bouncers and goes, "Thank you for inviting me. You have a lovely home." Yep. Thank you guys for being here. It means a lot. Now, of course, I just lost a page of my speech, so I'm going to go with the must be the JU guys time. All the folks from Jacksonville University, please stand up. Come on, you can do it. Stretch them. It's a long speech. That's pretty amazing. It's a pretty amazing group, actually, that are here. Numerous senior officers. I know there's too many of them to mention by name, but I'm going to pick 2. One guy was a retired Marine colonel, Force Recon. I've known this guy since I was 9 years old, and he led troops into battle in 2003, the first ones into Baghdad. A hero in my book, and I'm not going to mention your name, Adam Kopp. Right. There's another guy here that a senior H-46 pilot extraordinaire, spent time in combat himself, had 2 mishaps, only one of which was his fault. 3 more, Greg, you'd be an ace. But there are successful lawyers, there are successful doctors, printers. This the Harvard of the South. It's like the Harvard of Jacksonville. The University of North Florida is a far better school. But this school produced some truly amazing people. I married one of them. And I just think it's amazing. I really appreciate all you guys, including some of our social members, Colonel Wessinger, who are here. And I appreciate you guys doing it. It means a lot to me. Now let's move on to this military thing. Yeah, sorry. I'm doing the best I can. I started flight school in 1983. I won't ask the folks who weren't born then to stand because it'd be too disturbing to me. But I was assigned to, my first flight instructor was a guy named Lieutenant Whitten. After FAM 3, third flight, he retired from the Navy. And I think I'm hopeful that that was just coincidental, but maybe it wasn't. They assigned me this next guy, a guy named Captain Bob Wills. Now, he was the scariest human beings you ever seen. Pockmarked face, never smiled, beady little eyes when you could see him because he was wearing sunglasses most of the time. Never said a thing. There was no gouge on him. He was a brand new instructor. So I get assigned to him. He barely says anything during the brief. We get in the plane, he says even less, and I'm trying to fly. And I'm all of this guy. Can't hold heading, airspeed, altitude, it's terrible. And I'm getting pattern, it even gets worse. You know, it's Bearcat Tower, Waldron Tower, Bearcat 7 at the gear, with the one, bam, you land. Horrible. He didn't say anything. Get out of the plane, shut down, walk into his office, and he goes, "See me in my office, bring your book." I'm like, God damn, I got it down. I fan forward, I'm flunking, I'm gonna be a supply officer. We walk in there, O'Keefe shut the door. He never called me Jim, he never called me Ensign O'Keefe, it was always just O'Keefe, shut the door. I'm like, God damn. And I wrote this next part down because I thought it was so funny. And some of you may have heard the story. Because O'Keefe, I know you suck, you know you suck. But there's absolutely no reason in the world to let everyone else know you suck. I don't care how bad you fly, it doesn't matter to me, but you're gonna start talking cool on those radios, you understand me? Yes, sir, Captain Will, sir, yes, sir. So I go running home, I write down every possible radio call I can make, and I memorize them all. I spent hours just memorizing. One of my flight school roommates is here, Jeff Morris, he knows. I tried. So I get there, and there I am in the pattern. Waldron Tower, Bearcat 741, at the 180 with the gear, touch and go. Now, I'm still all over the sky. I can't hold anything around to. But in the back, Captain Bob Wills goes, "Talk cool, fly cool." That was it. And it's a great learning experience for me. It allowed me to concentrate on what was really important, which was the flying part. I owe a lot to him. There's another guy here as we move on, and again, it's not in my notes, but I'm going to try to pull it out anyhow. My first boss in the Navy is here, and I'm looking right at him, and Captain Glenn Ives, retired former CEO of Pax River. I said, no, he had the dubious honor of being the only person that I know serving with all three O'Keefe brothers. My brother Kevin at Naval Academy, me at HSL 32, and the unfortunate pairing with Matt at HSL 42, right? Yeah. Glenn was a leader who cared. I heard all this crap earlier about, oh, he's so selfless. That's the man I learned it from, right there. He cared about me as an officer, he cared about me as a pilot, but he cared about me as a person. Matter of fact, he even tried to set me up on dates, which he failed miserably at. This was before I was married. So, Jesus. But now, a truly fantastic officer and person, and to this day continues to mentor me. Continues. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Glenn. Also to my H2 Bubba brothers that are here. I think saw a few of them, John Larkin, Joe Heaps, I know are here, Gary Dupree. Gary, thank you for giving me my first call sign ever. My favorite, Dickhead. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I do appreciate that. It's a great community. It's a somewhat hazardous aircraft to fly. We led the league in Class Alpha mishaps for many years. I know John Larkin can attest to that, having put one in himself. But I love this community, and it got me an idea of what aviation is about. And here's what a good example of how this is such a cool community. There's an antenna in the aircraft. It's called the AKT-22 antenna. It's a data link, and it comes down when it's operating, and it goes up when it's stowed. And then if it gets down and stuck, it's below the landing gear, so you can't land. You have to do something. So there's an emergency procedure actually in the flight manual, and it goes like this. It goes, okay, if you're at land or you're over the calm seas, go over the deck, and the guys can actually remove it, take it off. If it's in rough seas, you can actually take a baseball bat and swing and hit it off. It'll snap right off. Or find a hole and land over the hole. And this is an actual note in the flight manual. It says, penetration, however slight, is sufficient to complete the act. I love that community. I love that community. Yeah. Thank you guys, my H2 Bubba brothers, for being here. I appreciate it. Moving on to my days at HT-18. A couple of my brothers here, Jeff Morris and Uncle Rick, are here. I really appreciate it. These are the guys who taught me how to be an instructor, which apparently, under that famous phrase, those who cannot do, teach, I ended up being an instructor almost the rest of my career, and it's based upon what you guys taught me. And here's a real quick story on a particular student that I flew with, which you guys won't want to hear because I didn't do very well on it. I'm not going to mention the guy's name, Eric Fisher, but he was actually having a really good flight. It was first time he was doing full auto rotations, powered off landings. And at the very bottom, he's a little bit nose right and a little bit hard, but I'm comfortable. It's really, Eric, you're doing great, buddy. Doing great. Just tell you what, at the very bottom, give me a little left pedal, a little more collective. These will be perfect. So I'm showing him, and every helicopter pilot will cringe when I do this. I'm showing him my Jim O'Keefe has confidence in you pose. I had my left hand up here like this. At the very bottom, it's going to be the same landing before. A little bit out to the right, a little hard, but I'm totally confident it's safe. The very last second, Eric remembers, oh shoot, left pedal, up collective. So he pushed full left pedal, full up collective. We turned 90 degrees sideways. We're traveling 15 knots this way in a skidded aircraft about to land. I grab onto the controls. They're meaningless at this point. The controls have nothing to do with the aircraft. I'm just looking for something to hold on to. And as we hit on one skid and we're about to roll over, and the thought went through my mind, I don't think I'm going to die, but this is really embarrassing. Somehow, God reached in there, grabbed that other skid, and pulled it down. But it was such a violent landing that the crash crew even called, and they go, 142, 142, everything okay, everything okay? And I, yeah, roger that, no problem. I'll tell you what, I'm going to jump out and check the transmission spike, and I'll let you guys know. And everybody in that pattern's going, God, that Jim O'Keefe is so cool. God, he's amazing. Awesome. Until I got out of the aircraft, and I literally buckled and fell to the ground. Seriously. Not exactly my best story, but I never left my hand off the collective ever since. So thanks to you guys. Thanks my HCA team buddies for being here. I appreciate it. Now moving on to that thing called the Coast Guard. I am trying to bring this home, folks. I never regretted making the swap. I'm not going to mention, I mean, it's the same. At first, like, 8 years, I thought I was TAD from the Navy to the Coast Guard, but I never regretted it. I mean, it's a great, same group of guys. Yeah, you guys ought to actually. This is actually the best part of my whole speech right there. Anybody else need to use the bathroom? Because I'll be Okay, is she okay? Should I be concerned? Oh my God. Okay, well, I'm not gonna. Okay, I'm gonna try to run through this before my mother gets back. Now, the list of mentors and leaders that I got to work with in the Coast Guard is just incredible. It goes on and on. You saw Matt Stanley up here. Truly one of the best pilots, officers, and friends I know and have. He is the reason you can either blame him or give him credit for me being still in the Coast Guard now, because he forced me to go to grad school, and then, because he knew I would quit, he joined it himself and stayed in it for the whole time to make sure I didn't do it. What a douchebag. I hated that class. Nah, he's fantastic. He should have been, this is the leading guy that should have been a CEO, an operational CEO, and it's a loss for the Coast Guard. Mike Emerson, I'm not sure if Mike's here, but one of the best leaders I've ever had. He taught, it's the only time I ever wanted to go to a meeting just to see what Captain Emerson would say. It was always just off the wall. We had to do we had an farm animal theme. Everything had to be done in farm animals. And he wanted the secret word of the day, and he had to try to figure out which one it was. How can a helicopter be ambidextrous? What the hell does that mean? Great guy. Tim McGuire's here. Tim McGuire. This guy wrote the book on servant leadership and doing the right thing. And he's embarrassed right now, which is good. You deserve it. Now, whenever I think I'm any kind of tough question, the right answer is always, what would Tim McGuire do in that situation? Yeah, stop shaking your head. Shut up. Glenn Gabley. Glenn Gabley is one of the most forward-leading, hard-charging guys you're ever going to meet. He's a risk taker. He really is. I mean, he weighs the risk, but gosh, we did some incredible missions together that were damn scary. He is now the head of Coast Guard safety. And his boss is sitting right up there. Sorry, Glenn, that sucked. Pat Gorman. Pat Gorman, again, another officer, great pilot. All these guys are great pilots. It probably goes without saying. Great pilot, great leader. But he, again, insisted on the workplace being fun. He insisted on it. And every Monday morning, he would come in with the same thing. He would do this. He'd go, And again, I incorporated that one too, another leadership tactic. But again, I'm getting close. I'm waiting for my mom to get back. But one of my favorite shows is Band of Brothers. It's a miniseries. A lot of you have seen it probably. And there's a scene in it where an elder, Dick Winters, who's the hero of the show, is asked by his granddaughter, "Grandpa, were you a hero during the war? It's about World War II." And he goes, "No, sweetheart, I wasn't, but I served in the company of heroes. And I know this has taken long, but I don't care, because at least in my opinion, I served in the company of heroes with some of the finest pilots and people on the planet. Chopper Bob Urix, thanks for keeping me out of the water. You did. Or I wouldn't be here today. I swear to God. And I don't think you would either. So I'm sure you're trying to save your own ass, but I appreciate it. Dan Moulton is here. This is a list of helicopter Hall of Fame of incredible people. Dan Moulton has 18 individual awards. That's incredible. All of them operational. He didn't get one end of tour award, not one admin award, nothing. Dan is an outstanding pilot, but a lousy officer. There are so many others here. Dan Madison's here. Kevin Serrault, Steve Cherubney, Stu Merrill, Jim Martin, Doug Cameron, Pete Mingo. God, I'd go on. And you guys are my heroes. I worship the ground that you walk on. It still says it in the bio about Jeannie, I think, that she worships the ground I walk on. But you guys are my idols. You really are. So anyhow, thank you guys for being here. It's just an honor to be in your presence. There's one more heroic American I wanted to touch base on. He's going to kill me. Master Chief Paul Weary's this year. Which I won't say anything about what you do for a living or did for a living, because you definitely killed me, but thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Friendship means a lot. Moving on real quick to my PSC team, who's here. Carol Bruton, head of uniforms for many years for me. A real leader, a true leader. 4 years enlisted in the Air Force in Vietnam, but just a true and incredible leader. Joe Lakato, another one. A Cutterman. I invited a Cutterman. Any of you aviators want to, you can have your way with him after the Sorry, Joe.
You'll need to get a few more.
Yeah. Oh. Patty Tudelo is here. Should have been an aviator, Patty. Should have been an aviator. Great officer. Chief Warrant Officer Heckel is here. Chief Warrant Officer, way to go. B. Is Burgess here? Raise your hand if you're here. Yes, sir. He's here. Yeah, B. This is First Class Petty Officer, SK1 Burgess. At the end of a very long day for both of us, this guy would come into my office. Excuse me, sir. How you doing? Do you want to talk sports? Yeah. On his own free time, he'd come in and look after me. Yeah. Great guy. Can't wait to meet Chief. I better be there. Redis is here. Jose. God, there's so many of you guys. I'm missing somebody. But again, thank you. I've said it to you guys before at PSC, but I'll say it again. I hated that job. Absolutely hated it. I forgot, Doc Roman's here. Gosh dang, one of the finest flight surgeons you're ever going to meet. Doc Roman is not a good PHS officer. She is a great officer. Thanks, Doc. Anyhow, finally, closing up. UAS team. Team UAS. Dave Ehlers, Vad, Strange, Swanee, all weird names. Yeah, absolutely, but great guys. This is how you should go through life, is surround yourself, be the stupidest person in the room. And I always was with those guys. I always was. And they did it. Yeah. Almost there. Okay, I'd be a dead man if I didn't touch on this last one. My 3 girls. Okay, my mother back. Ah, shit. My 3 girls. Yep. Megan and Katie. You guys suck. Those speeches are 10 times better than this. Damn, it's terrible to follow that. But yeah, I'm an average pilot, a mediocre officer, probably at best. But I'm a great dad. I can't wait. You guys are young women now, and I can't wait to see what you do. It's just, I'm on the sidelines, but I'm going to be there. Helicopter dad, yeah. And finally, I promised Jeannie I wouldn't tell any stories on her. I lied. Yep. Yeah, this is for Patty Tulo or Jimmy knows. This is story number 17. I think we're on. So we're it's career day at Megan's high school. Katie wasn't there yet, and I think Megan was like a junior. And I'm at the Coast Guard table, absolutely all alone. No one's stopping, nothing. The funeral home guy next to me has got more interest. That's serious. So Megan sees this and she goes, God, my dad's such a loser. She goes to her football buddies and goes, somebody talk to my father. Just talk to him. Go over there. So all of a sudden, boom, there's 10 football players right in front of me. I'm like, wow, all right, great. So I'm like, oh man, Coast Guard aviation, military aviation, it's all great. It's about being on a team. You got a goal. You got to go out and do this. Take a risk. It's fantastic. And they're looking at me like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? And I'm like, no, really. And I go, oh, hey, wait a second, boys. You see the doctor table over there? See Megan's mom? That's my wife? Yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, sure, yes, sir. She's smoking hot. Yeah. There's no way that this gets that. How does that work? She fell for the wings, boys. She fell for the wings. The beauty of that is they still had that stupid glazed look on their face, like, what? But then I got home and Megan goes, wow, you were quite a hit. And I'm like, oh, no way, really? What? And I actually wrote this down because I wanted it etched on my tombstone, is Megan, this is one of the football players, Megan, your dad is so chill, he must have slayed the chicks in high school. Which, as my high school buddies could attest to, could not be further from the truth. Anyhow, I'm Amber. This is it. Final thanks to Joe. Your speech was better than mine too. God damn you. Brian, Grubby, Will, you guys threw this thing together. I really appreciate all the other guys that are helping today. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me. Everybody in this room means a lot to me. Thank you all for being here. May God bless you all. May God look after the Coast Guard aviators that are on duty tonight. And may God bless America. Thank you.